You're live.
We are here.
Hey.
We are live. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us again for a new Rethink Tech Live. Today is September 12th. Today we're talking the NFL. They got AI robots meandering around. We're talking Novak Djokovic shocks everybody with his 24th major championship. And we got a whole new company breaking out of here from Ohio. They're out here claiming that they can save your ink after you die, and they'll preserve it as an art form. Ooh, yummy. And then finally, Disney adults can't live with them. I think I could probably live without them. But let me introduce my co-host, my good friend, David Cunningham. How are you doing, good sir?
Oh, doing pretty good here, Alex. It's nice to be fashionably late to our podcast. Football season is underway. I'm positive on fantasies. Well, I'm doing real nice. You know who might be doing a little bit better here? The man, the myth, the legend behind the curtain.
BC Mall here. Make sure to get your snowboarding passes before they run out.
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
All
So
right.
the NFL, starting with the NFL, I want to first go to Brian, if you could pull up for us, Elliot. We're trying to get user engagement. We want you guys and your comments to get involved. We want you to be a part of the dialogue. So topic of the day is going to be these AI robots creeping around the NFL, but a perfect themed comment that goes with what the audience wants to hear. Elliot asked, let's talk about some Browns, baby. And David over here, it dressed appropriately for the day.
real
Thank
festive
goodness.
today for
Don't worry about it, Brian. We're well beyond that. So going on to the Browns, we came through. They crushed it. They did a great job. The Bengals couldn't accomplish anything.
No. So they had the big unveil of Burrow's contract, and that was his opening game. Oof, that's a rough one here. Really, what shows on this end is the new. Here are a couple takeaways here with the Browns. Deshaun, he's looking okay. Boy, he can get a little better. I wasn't too terribly impressed by his play, nor his fantasy score. But we have a new defensive coordinator in, and boy, I tell you, looking real good. Defense looking real spicy. Really getting after the corners. We might have, dare I say, the best defense in the AFC.
I'm very upset you would say that, because that's just like an utter jinx. At the same time, though, it goes back to the dialogue we were having on the first or the last episode, where ironically, the old Jets coach, Rex Ryan, was out here saying that he thinks we've got one of the best defenses in the league. It really showed its head, because, y'all were laughing at my expense before the episode, but I got smoked in fantasy this year, because a lot of chips in one basket. Not all the chips, but my starting wide receivers just for this week is I ain't a fool twice. But my starting wide receivers were Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. T. Higgins scoring literally 0 points.
Pull one out for you here.
But yeah, exactly. So I am gleeful in my loss, because it speaks to how the Browns just totally shut down their offense. Myles Garrett out here slam dunking Joe Burrow.
Absolutely.
But what's really cool is Jamar Chase out here talking smack about us being elves. And came back and bit him in the butt. He was pretty upset. The thing that I'm most, whatever the quote was, the thing I'm most upset about is the fact that I called them a bunch of elves. It's like, yeah, put your money where your mouth is.
And he did. Well, so other storylines here with the NFL here, too.
Well, so if that's it, you don't have anything else to say about the Browns?
No, that was about it here.
All right, cool. Well, in regards to the Browns, final kind of wrapping thought here is we want to give one final farewell to Jim Donovan, somebody that's been the voice of the Browns for my whole, conscious experience. When the Browns came back in 1999, he took over as the voice, the speaker for the Browns, and calling the play-by-plays. And honestly, football is one of those sports where I've never felt it could be one of those things you could consume through the radio. My dad always prided himself on being an old traditional type sports fan, where he'd watch it in the elements, and, you'd have to wait for a special time on TV to get some clips, because you couldn't watch all the games, and you couldn't watch away games. It was all these weird rules. And I never thought you could really consume football that way. And it's when you're stuck at a golf outing in Toledo that you're listening to Jim Donovan through the radio and you truly feel like you're able to. And again, do I have a little bit of an edge because I played football? Sure. But like I can picture an entire scheme in my head and follow the play without actually visually interpreting a minute of it.
It shows it's a dying art too. We're seeing these legends retire. They're going away. Are we going to get a new crop that are able to articulate and really paint that picture that I think football really deserves? You really have to be on your A game with football. It's much more so than basketball, and we're seeing a dying art form. They're going away, and I don't think the talent's coming back on that end. We're going to have more people going to replace, but is it going to be the same? Are we going to have that same nostalgic fervor for it? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a great point. Brian, do you think you could play the video of Jim Donovan saying his farewell?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're just showing the whole desktop. I don't have enough of this for today.
I didn't think it would play off of that. All right. We are here.
Oh, there we are.
I don't have my phone. Can you pull the YouTube up on yours?
All right.
And it's got everybody choked up. You know, it's perfect. It's a really tough subject. You know, him leaving for leukemia to go through chemo one more time. Go through Inception here. To go through chemotherapy one more time. You know, he says it as if he can't wait to come back, but you know, everybody kind of knows this is the final.
He's probably not coming back.
And that's a heartbreak, man.
Yeah.
And for like you said, for somebody to be the lifeblood for so long, and the question is, are we gonna you know, I didn't dress appropriately. I just came from work, so that's why one of us dressed for a Browns day, and one of us just is a Cleveland fan. But what I appreciate is when it comes to this type of struggle, we know a lot of people going through it.
Yeah. And
there's something to take someone like Harry Carey, right? That's why I brought it up. I got like a baseball setup over here. That's somebody who is like pivotal. It will be a legendary figure for generations to come who may have never heard Harry Carey. I think maybe some people's extent of Harry Carey is just Will Ferrell's impression of him.
Yeah.
And yet they still carry on that tradition. This is a difficult thing that, you know, for someone to go through. But to your point, I don't know if it's a society thing or because our medium is going towards more visual.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want pretty people talking to us.
Yeah.
But, you know, the face for radio, that comment has kind of fallen by the wayside because it's a personality character type that really is not as prevalent. You know, voice acting is still there. It's still relevant, but it also isn't the total art form.
Well, even voice acting is starting to just be those who already act voice act. It's
right.
Two completely different disciplines, and it is a real shame. The unfortunate part is, when was the last time you were not forced to listen to a football game? And unfortunately the market just drives to there's a lot of great art that's just lost because the market either doesn't appreciate it or just there's better alternatives for it. Football by and large is a very very visual sport. You get the most out of it visually, and it is a little bit of a tragedy that Jim Donovan, he put his whole life into it, and you can just tell, you hear the emotion in that farewell, and you can also hear it just when he's calling the plays. it is such an art form, and maybe one I might just start going back to a little bit, just to see how good can it really be with some of these, some of these icons,
Right.
in voice sports, radio
Radio
calling
sports.
sports.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great take.
Yeah.
And as David was indicating, we do have a lot more NFL talk to go ahead to. And so, you know what? Let's spin it to the main focal point. We got a little bit more NFL to talk about, but I really want to get to these AI characters that are creeping around the NFL. Brian, if you want to play the clip while we kind of do the dialogue here. So you can share just that frame and not the desktop.
It takes like 3 extra steps.
I know. But that way they're not seeing everything, like our icons. And so back to these AI characters that are creeping around. It came out that this was, a gimmick for the promotion of the new movie coming out, The Creator. And you've seen similar gimmicks that look like this, like they did Smile, where these creepers were in the outside stadium.
They did this for Megan
baseball.
as well, where they had the halftime spectacle. I wouldn't call it, I'd hardly call it a show, but a spectacle with the Megan actresses dancing. So this is, and these are all, I think the big theme here too is these are all in Chargers or LA Rams games. And what else is in Los Angeles? Some would say one of the biggest exports of the United States, actually, entertainment. So a lot of promotion here, and a lot of cross promotion with the NFL. So I'm glad you brought that in here, as I was about ready to clown on you.
For what?
I genuinely thought when you brought this topic to me that you thought these were robots just kind of running free around the stadium.
Well, I'm glad you want to make a clownery of it, because the reason I do bring it up is it is very interesting how it's being purported to the public. It's that these are robots, and anybody with like a keen eye and a functioning brain can tell that these are actors that are, trying to portray themselves as robots. But again, I was going to have the clip, but it isn't worth it. I had Pat McAfee. He literally was talking about them as if they were actual robots. He acknowledges that they're there to promote this movie, but it is odd. And again, that's part of the media plan, is to drum up interest. But again, there's zero media acknowledgement that these are people in costumes, and it's all that these are robots. Yes, for the promotion of some movie, but again, I don't know if Brian wants to go through some of those pictures that we had set as we're talking about it, but like you'll see, they are clearly people, but portraying themselves as robots. The funny thing is, some marketing company had to pay for actors to go to a Chargers game.
Really, imagine if this was a sold out game too, and these 4 guys get to just sit there. Are they interested? Maybe, probably not. And you're taking away seats from other people. So I don't think it was a sold out game, but I think it was this was the Chargers Miami game too, I think. Oh, that was actually a pretty good game. But yeah, it was
a great game.
We're starting to see synergy with a lot of these, and I think this is just going to be a weekly occurrence. If we have a big movie, you start. What's the next gimmick? The first gimmick now we're seeing the metamorphosis of this whole side promotion deal. What's next? We're gonna have serial killers out in the stands, fake killing people, or we're gonna have a cops and robbers chase out in the middle of the field. Instead of having a streaker, it's someone promoting a movie that's a comedy. I might just be giving them ideas here. So, Necessary Think Tank, we'll give some ideas for some of these. But eventually, we're just going to start getting to the point where this advertisement is just ridiculous. Everyone's, oh, my God, just get on with this. And it's going to start getting tired. It's cute now. I give it like 6 months. And now it's going to be just, everyone's rolling their eyes like, okay, all right.
Well, it speaks to the Shakespearean phrase, the world is the stage. So it's not just on the screen, it expands beyond that. And sometimes it's just a movie, promotion. Other times it's a psychological operation. Do you have any? So wrapping up the NFL, because I just want to talk a little bit of smack, because we brushed over the Browns so quickly. The Browns, I don't know what to say besides Deshaun moves better than Baker. So did he look like
Yeah.
$250 million? At the same time, though, at least we don't have a short, stubby man that thinks he can run. We actually got a guy who can run. So, one, it was nice watching somebody move with conviction and actually accomplish the goal.
Yeah, he's not running scared. I think Baker was. I don't want to say running scared, but just
Ah.
kind of running for his life.
I would
Not-
never say that, only because that gives him the benefit of like crying wolf as he does. Baker was small, and Baker was a rolling, running, scrambling quarterback in Oklahoma, and he had this perception that he wasn't up to the knees of every other player in the majors and thought he could do that. He thought he was the same size as everyone.
Yeah.
And the reality check was you can't scramble. If you could reconcile the fact that you have to readjust your approach to the game, and I don't know, you have to model yourself more off of Peyton Manning versus a Lamar Jackson or a Michael Vick, who he wanted to be
Yeah.
and crafted his college career off of. So what I'm really trying to emphasize what I saw from Deshaun, again, when you're at the game and you could see the full scope of the field, yeah, there's a lot of people he's not reading as he's going through the play read.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it's good enough. And what's cool is not having Kareem Hunt and the acknowledgement that, hey, we can't really lean on our passing game as we thought we did. It's forcing us to exhaust Chubb more than we did ever before. And we really used him yesterday.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. How much longer can we have Chubb just carrying the team on his back? I complained last year when we weren't quite running him enough, and now it's gonna get it's not gonna be pretty here if he gets hurt, broken down, all that fun stuff here. Also, Chubb not complained about his salary or his contract.
Exactly.
One of the few running backs just quiet in the background and this is one of the very few times saying nothing kind of just makes you look a little bit better. So it's refreshing, a little bit refreshing.
Yeah.
Was there any drama in the offseason for the Browns outside of whatever? You're still the Deshaun, that's kind of we're still under the half-life of Deshaun Watson's controversy, but outside of that, not really a whole lot.
The other side to it too is, like, my dad looked at me when he was just running down their throats, and he's like, we need to pay the man. And even till the end of his career, like, we should make a point that he is a Cleveland Brown to the end of he should be our Jim Brown.
Yep.
That we don't want to see you in another jersey. Even when you're kind of getting to the end of your career, we're going to take care of you. You are a Cleveland Brown. Especially if we're going to beat him down like we did Peyton Hillis and exhaust him down the throats of these, defenses, because it's all we got.
Give him a better legacy to live for.
I agree. You ready for the next topic?
I'm ready for the next topic.
All right. So Novak Djokovic, the evil anti-jabber that opted out of the, I don't know, government juice to get unvaxxed. I'll say it. And they, because of that decision, prevented him from competing in last year's U.S. Open, which was hosted in New York. Again in New York, this year, he was allowed to compete. He won the U.S. Open, making a historic 24th major championship, matching Margaret Court for the most Grand Slam single titles in tennis history. Totally awesome. Not a single picture of Novak showed yet. Unable to compete last year, he was denied the first Grand Slam in men's tennis since 1969. So, what are your thoughts before we break it all down?
Irony
is football.
is the first biggest thing that came here. Because what was, Alex? If you want to tell the ladies and gentlemen here at home, what was this who sponsored this U.S. Open?
New York. Oh, well, I guess
really
we'll go. Let's
sponsored
get
this
right into the
US
meat of
Open?
it. So, it's not only what makes this even juicier. Now let's get to the punchline. Now, he didn't just win a U.S. Open. He won the Moderna-sponsored U.S. Open. Brian, how about you play the ad from the Moderna U.S. Open? This is the shot of the day, brought to you by Moderna.
Shot of the day. Now, was there any self-awareness with this?
Do you see?
With the shot?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Shot of the day.
A lot of shots that were really good.
How much do you have to hold back as an announcer? It's like, well, a lot of shots in this crowd here tonight. One less here in the court.
Wait, keep playing it. And here it comes.
Shot of the day.
Brought to you by Moderna. So thank goodness for our pharmaceutical warlords that give us, bestow upon us the freedom to exist here.
Absolutely.
Another piece brought to you by Moderna. I don't have the statistic prepared. It would have been nice because the fleeting thought just came to me. But did you know like 90% of revenue in cable, 90% of cable is funded by pharmaceuticals?
Would it be cable
Just
news?
cable, no,
just
like
cable in general.
Cable
just as
would
an
not
umbrella
exist
topic.
as a platform. It only exists because again, they're invested in having cable still exist because the old people and the folks that still have it for ease or just tradition might just have the TV on their counter and it'll play to nothingness, and you'll have in the subconscious a Moderna or whatever, a company ad, a medicine ad.
Yeah.
So it actually is a non-profiting business without the pharmaceutical companies, and it is totally promulgated by them because again, it's the main source of propaganda or networking.
I think you bring up a good point too, because I don't remember the last. There probably is some online advertisements. I can't remember the last YouTube video I've even seen that had anything to do with pharmaceuticals. Because I know there's certain laws behind those types of ads, and I don't know if those jive well with the way the internet works. And especially if you see some, I'd love to see what the comments look like on a Moderna, just a regular dinner YouTube video. I bet they probably have those comments shut off for some obvious reasons. But yeah, it goes to show just how powerful these multinational corporations are, and it's. And I wish some of the I just wish some of the free thinking individuals would take kind of because you have two groups here. You have one that thinks that, hey, the shot is the best thing in the world, cannot do any wrong. But at the same time, you have the hey, multinational corporations are maybe the most evil things in the world. No billionaire should exist. It's it's unethical to be a billionaire. Where do you see those those two thoughts never seem to collide with each other with a certain voting block? But yeah, I see this whole Djokovic thing irony, just a big irony fest. You have a comeback story. There's really something to root for within that. I think that story, it's probably going to get pushed down the media a little bit, especially given the advertising implications of it. But definitely, I could see some pretty spicy memoirs, spicy podcasts featuring him. Maybe he'd be a good candidate for Joe Rogan.
Man, I talk about an amazing conversation, and especially with Joe Rogan, where they could really break down again a I guess sentiment they share. Let's be real here. Another thing to be said about this conversation is this is an athlete. And the fact that you're stripping people of their autonomy to make personal decisions about themselves, what happened to my body, my choice. This is a person who is physically fit to such a degree that they are a professional athlete above the rest. They should have the autonomy and freedom to make their own decisions. What's funny is he's not even American. So it's not even the fact that hey, you in your own tyranny home can have your own problems. No, this guy made his own decision in his own home, and we, the land of the free and the home of the brave, told him that he needs to strip himself of his autonomy, strip himself of his liberty, and bend the knee. Ironically, this was hosted where? In New York, where we pride ourselves on the biggest statue of
Liberty.
Oh, wow. And yet we strip you of it with a grin and a smile. So, but you can't see the smile because we forced you to cover it with a mask. So what's interesting is you didn't prevent him from competing for safety or necessity. It was to send a message, to coerce action, to get people to act. And hey, look at your big, proud role model. He doesn't get to compete because he didn't obey the warlords. And it again proving the point that it wasn't for safety or sake of the people. He competes the next year. Nothing changed. Nothing changed from that year. There's no problem last year. We were well beyond the virus then too. So what changed from this year from last year? Nothing. So what are we experiencing? This was a clear propaganda move. You stripped somebody of their liberty, not for the sake of necessity, to prove a point, to coerce state action. And I think that's the most problematic piece of this. You emphasized and proved to us that this wasn't for the sake of the people. And it really should wake people up to the fear of the Orwellian future that these state actors can impose upon us. They can. We're lucky right now that they haven't. And that's why we get to go to a country concert waving flags, screaming freedom, because we have the illusion that it exists. But it exists insofar as they allow it to exist.
Oh, absolutely. Let's just break this down to even its most relevant part. So let's say you want to be safe for the fact of playing the sport of tennis. How many people are typically around you within 6 foot in tennis? Not a whole lot. Not too many. So some of this just breaks down under just a little bit of scrutiny. And when it comes to tennis as well, it's not contact. It is you're on the opposite end of the court with someone. You're really well placed. So it's not the biggest. I just didn't see that as the biggest deal in the world, especially in this sport. Another one that I got upset with on the whole virus situation, NASCAR.
Yeah.
So it shocked me that NASCAR wasn't a sport during this whole lockdown situation. Because what are you doing in NASCAR? You're actively trying to get away from the other people, and you're enclosed in your own little box, away from everyone else. I couldn't think of a more perfect sport for a lockdown than NASCAR, and they shut that bitch down.
Hey, do you remember that one black guy pulled a Jesse Smollett and pretended that they put? God, what a clown circus show!
This
NASCAR
is
is
just some teenager thinking he's going to be real funny. It's like, I'm just going to tie a noose. Here's this, and just so happened to oh my god!
Brian's trying to flag us for something. He's got something to say.
What do you have for us, Brian?
So, did you know that the national anthem was not played at the U.S. Open? It was a different version of it.
So you're saying the U.S. Open, the national anthem, did not play during the U.S. Open?
Correct.
It's a bold
they
bold
didn't
choice,
play it
Cotton.
at all here in New York. They didn't play our national anthem.
That would be correct. They used a version called America the Beautiful, or Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Oh, Brian,
yeah.
do you have the ability to play it?
Yeah, give me
I
a
don't
second.
think I've heard this one.
Yeah, so we're gonna listen to the national anthem. We're gonna give Brian a second to check it out. But we got him running around the whole place. But one thing I noticed, dude, is that this is okay. I'm all for a national anthem that appeals to everybody and unites us all. Some would say the thing that accomplishes that is, I don't know, the national anthem, the anthem for all of the people, those that subscribe as United States citizens, claim to be a part of the tribe, pay into the social contract, all abide as neighbors. All I'm saying is we need one. We had one. You said it was a bad one. Why was it? And you don't continue to say it was a bad one. This was a narrative that was created in the summer of love when we were throwing stools through Starbucks windows. So you told us in the period when you were burning down our cities that this was a hateful, evil song, our national anthem. Why? Well, because you hate our nationalism. But then you needed to come up with an excuse. And the only excuse, grabbing for straws, you could come up with was that it came from a time period when we owned people.
Yeah.
Unique perspective. I'm glad you were able to come up with it on your own. The only thing I have to say in regards to that point is the time period should have nothing to do with message. And we should try to focus on the message where we stand for freedom. We all unite together. I'd love for you to find a verse or phrase in that song that is divisive, hateful, singles out any one group over the rest. It's all about us. Yep. What does this new Black national anthem do? I don't call it that. You call it that. What does this national anthem accomplish for us? It divides us. It makes multiple national anthems for multiple groups within here, making us no longer one nation, but a divided group naturally bound to implode on itself. I kept cutting you off.
Yeah,
what were
you
your
can't
thoughts
you
on
can't
that?
divide and conquer with the national anthem. I think you put it beautifully. The national anthem doesn't single out a group. It doesn't specify who the group should be, other than Americans. It's just telling a story of how we became independent. So to have it'd be interesting to see here. I've never heard this. Does this single out a group? Do we? So I think for a uniting feature and a uniting song must be universal. Universal is in not calling anyone out, not singling anyone out.
But again, can we agree that's probably why they made nationalism racist and problematic and why they're trying to turn it off? Because the last thing they want is something that unites us, that no longer turns your neighbor against you, that actually makes you guys realize that you're all on the same team and in this together. And then when you realize that, you turn your barrels to the real problem, which is you, the state. We can't afford that. So make multiple national anthems and make them all hate each other. Brian, I want to hear this thing.
All right, let's go.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing
Oh, no. Brian, not to cut this off, but let's pause it. I'm afraid YouTube's going to pull us because of the copyright.
Oh,
So again,
that might be right.
I'm sorry, this is the nonsense, but you could have anybody singing the national anthem. It's never going to pull the video, and it's never. I know when we finish here and it goes through the YouTube checks, the actual video that gets posted is going to get a flag now. And that's what it clicked as soon as I'm watching it. And it's because now you've got a song that's owned by a person. So you know what I'd really love to do? Some investigative journalism for maybe another think tank.
Ooh.
I'd love to find out who's probably the same devils that are making major profits off of BLM. I'd love to know who owns this song.
That actually be a good point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's posted on the NAACP.
Boom, boom, boom. The Black Nobility, the top of the Black Illuminati. Love it. We're just all going down.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
As they say, follow the money.
You know, it should resonate with you that Applebee's can't sing to you happy birthday because somebody owns that song. You should definitely trigger to the fact that you probably don't have much freedom when it comes to the Black national anthem either.
Which is ironic.
All right.
So, closing thoughts on Djokovic here.
I think it's awesome. Let's talk about what, wrapping thought, because
right.
we didn't really get to it. Aaron Rodgers came out and he was supposed to be a big presence in the NFL this weekend. It was super. So doubling back to one of the things we missed over, Aaron Rodgers was here to make a stance, comes run out to start the show off with the American flag on 9/11. And that was pretty much the major highlight of the episode or of the the season for him, because not even a few plays into the season, I don't know, snapped his Achilles or something.
There was 5 snaps and 4 snaps. The one I have written on my notes here, don't make the obvious 9/11 joke, so I'm just going to leave it at that here. But definitely, yesterday was not a good day for New York sports, just in general. Really, New York came out with a win, but everyone lost.
But everything went down.
Yeah, not good iconography. Probably, I don't think the NFL is going to have New York play on 9/11 again. Probably, it's just not good luck. It's rough.
Yo, so wrapping thoughts for Novak Djokovic. Here's what I got. I think it's cool that you've got athletes that have a position. And again, everybody hates him, but there's something to be said about Kyrie Irving. There are these athletes in this space that have something to stand for. As much as I hate LeBron because he's an uneducated person trying to talk on educated topics, I still have to respect a guy that stands for something. Whether I may not like it because I don't agree with the stance, but there's something cool to somebody standing for something, especially when it's against the grain. It's very easy to be the actor that jumps in the song to sing a Beatles song to convince everybody to go get the jab again.
Yeah.
That's easy to do. What's difficult is to be the person that goes against the grain, follows your heart, and does what you think is right. And sometimes may not be, may be wrong, but you have a guy here that was willing to see standing up for people and humanity and what's right was tenfold more important than his career.
Yeah.
Same thing with Aaron Rodgers, Kyrie Irving. You brought up Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
These are people that are willing to put, and again, Joe Rogan, not an athlete, uncancelable at this point, but still is willing to take on the position of try me. This is me. I'll find a platform. I'll find a space. So these are trailblazers that have immense value to us in the long run. What are the historians going to talk about this time period? They're going to look back and reflect on mass people manipulation. And what is the liberal saying all the time? Be on the right side of history.
Yep.
So when they reflect on history, again, I could be totally ignorant, totally wrong, but I think these are people that will be commended and remembered, those that stood against the grain. Listen, I wanted to go to the NFL draft, so I got in line and I got my cow stamp right on my ass, and I got to go there. I got my barcode, but I was at the draft. So there's something to those that didn't fall in, and they're not dead. That's what broke your whole propaganda scheme. The cheeseburgers to convince us to get the jab were necessary because you didn't have the dead body. We are survivalists. I will do anything necessary to survive. Nobody's sitting here going and just holding their breath. You got to breathe. You got to drink water. You will do what's necessary to survive.
And you got to look out for yourself.
If you had piles of dead bodies, there isn't a redneck in town that wouldn't be first in line for that jab. But you've got super athletes sitting here going, hey, instead of the cheeseburger, go for a run and don't get the jab. And they're not dead. Now you got a problem. Propaganda machine is struggling.
Yeah, and I think the message on the whole thing has just been bad pretty much from the start, outside of take it seriously from the first 2 weeks. And then from there, boy, we just went downhill, mixed messaging. It wasn't consistent messaging. Didn't always make logical sense with everyone involved in every sort of facet here, especially with the athletes, especially when we started seeing the data that comes out that, if you're immunocompromised, probably not the best thing in the world for you to gallivant around nightclubs and do social events. But now we seem to it's a one size fits all policy, and I hate one size fits all policies, especially when it comes to it goes away from the spirit of federalism,
right?
And that takes away. I hate to say this in earnest, but takes away from the freedom, takes away from our ability to be able to look out for ourselves and have this individual liberty that we.
What are your thoughts on the irony of somebody that said you can't, spatula the baby in my womb, but because it's my body, my choice, but I can invade your body with juice.
Again, it goes to logical consistency. You're not. There's
Yeah.
just no. I wish we'd be a little more earnest on the consistency we had. It's like, well, I like this because it's the Democratic talking point or the Republican talking point, but we're never that honest. So it's nice to see some of these athletes that do at least single issue stand up for it, and you get some more earnest, you get some more authenticity, and allows you to be able to connect with them on at least a bit of a different level than just, hey, I'm here, I'm good, buy my shoes.
Totally. Love it. Love it. Brian, I couldn't tell if you were trying to indicate that we were getting low on time or you had something to say. What you got for us?
Nope.
Just letting us know we were going over.
I don't even know.
Well, hey,
You
sounds
don't
like
even
a-
know. He turns around physically and turns on a light. I don't know.
I'm just over here. I'm pressing buttons. What can I say?
Pressing buttons, baby.
I don't know, man.
All right.
Let's move on to our next topic here.
All right. This is the craziest topic of the day. Probably the craziest topic of your week. I keep trying to. All right. The craziest topic. Save My Ink Forever is the title of this company. They extract people's tattoos after they pass away and turn them into framed artwork. Brian, go ahead and show some of the pictures while we're talking about this so people can get an idea of what we're talking about.
Interesting.
You'll see him in a second.
So I've known-
No, that's
so I've
how
known
you gotta
this
do
is
that. Just pull them
possible.
all up.
I saw a news story once, probably about 5-6 years ago, where there was a they had to go through a court order to be able to do this because it's a little graphic on how you're peeling skin off a dead person's body. That they probably don't advertise it like that, but definitely I didn't know this is a company. So this is new. This is new for me here.
Apparently, they're the only company in the world that does this. They have this weird relationship between themselves and the funeral homes or the morticians, and they have the morticians extract them. It's a really gruesome process. I was going to go through the details, but it's just
Skin grafting is
very
not
gross.
pretty.
So they do a
Not
skin
pretty.
graft, pull the skin off. They have, some special powder coatings that they cover it in, and then the funeral home or mortician then sends it to this company, and they go through this whole preservation and embalming process where they,
They just turn into
create
leather.
framed art. Yeah, create leather.
Essentially,
Leather.
it's just human leather.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Here's a quote from the company, which struck a chord with me. We have a general counsel that specializes in funeral law, and he says he's done his research, and basically, should anything ever come up, he is very confident in what he does and will be able to defeat it. Weird statement. Like, again, people are interviewing you about your comment, and the first thing is like, we got a lawyer, and the lawyer said we can do this, and that frame is not creepy. Yeah, at that point you go, dude. Also, are you like a Bates Motel type character? Like,
when you're a
who's
little-
the person that gets their rocks off on taking your tattoo and making it a picture?
They're a little too self-aware. You might want to have a little less self-awareness on that one. Oh yeah.
What you
Oof.
got, Brian?
Oof.
I mean, it. Hopefully, these people are, giving their tattoos, or no. Hopefully, they're giving like their organs and stuff away, and not just like
Could you
completely
imagine?
scalping themselves, and then just
Yeah.
being like, you know
Oof.
what? I want an open casket because my family deserves to see me for what I truly am.
Could you imagine
Ugh.
somebody that's like, yeah, I want grandma. No. I want my sister. I have right here on my shoulder, it says, I love my sister. I want her to have that on her wall. But if you're saying a blind person will see it again, no. I want my eyes in my skull. You're saying somebody could benefit from no. This is the sanctity of my body. I just want my tattoo on my sister.
Which funny part did this come from?
I just want to make a comment about this guy. Does this guy not look like the guy that's just like you know, part of the business plan is, all right, I see that cousin Larry is a very decorative guy. Lots of tattoos. But you just want the dragon above his asshole. I will do that for 25% discount if I can also have the Pikachu above his elbow.
So another thought I have here. So you're, let's go first generation. So the children want to keep dad's leg tattoo or arm tattoo, whatever. How far down the family lineage do you pass this down? Say, that's you see that on the wall? That's your great grandpa Larry. He lost a bet in fantasy football, and now that's why he has Brownie the Elf on his shoulder.
Dude, you get some things from like pass downs that, like, again, you just have no interest in. You're like, all right, this is beyond me.
Yeah.
That's such a great question. How many people removed from grandpa before it's like, all right, get rid of this thing? Also, totally, this takes a leather expert, but like, again, you guys might have some experience with like leather shoes, leather bags. So I'm curious, do you believe there is an expiration date to like a leather purse, leather boots, leather hat? I mean, some of those things are in, like you said,
If
pass
tanned-
downs for a long time, but
if tanned
also
properly, you could probably have it for quite a while. I mean, there's stuff from I had someone like the medieval, like like the medieval, like how they strap the plates onto you and all that. That's a lot of that. A lot of that's like leather work, or the swords, some of the binding on there, like katanas. A lot of that when they wrap the handle, that's leather too. And those sometimes they don't hold up the best for centuries, but definitely, if you know what you're doing and you preserve it properly, 100 years, it should be easy.
But see, here's what's interesting too. The leather itself may exist, like that's grandpa's flesh. But like you at 20, everybody says don't get tattoos because they look sexy at 22. But do you really want that tattoo when you're old? And then the kids today are like, I don't care what they look like when I'm old. But like, let's agree what tattoos look like when you're old. I loved my grandpa. You know what made my grandpa super special? He was he was in the Navy. He was in the Greek mafia. Like classic, guy from his time. And he had an anchor tattooed on his forearm. My same grandfather that spent my whole life telling me I should never get a tattoo. I'm not allowed to get a tattoo. I totally regret this tattoo. And it got faded. It got a little blurred, but it was grandpa's. And to me, it might actually mean something because like it was like something I very much remember of him. At the same time, though, I know it didn't look at the end of the road like it did when he got it.
No.
So if that's kind of how these things go, let me give you an example. I have a giant calendar in my office that because I'm in charge of the court, all the people have to come in and put in their time off, the vacations and everything. And there is a different division in our court that he wants to put his in blue. All of it's in black, so I can know his division separately. He puts it in blue. And occasionally he comes in every 2 weeks and he freaks out because his expo marker has turned black. And it used to be blue, and now you can't tell the difference. Of the same vein, like I keep saying to him, I go, dude, what do you want to do? This is literally in the window and it's right in the sun. The sun bleeds colors. It's naturally bound to happen. So you're right. It preserved itself if you keep grandpa's art framed in a, treasure trove in the closet. But the second you've got it on display for your guests to see as you put on the soiree, it's bound to like evolve. And the leather may be there, but will the tattoo and will it be distinguishable?
Do you have to condition the tattoo? Because I see when you're showing up the pictures, they look little shadow boxies. You have to take it out, rub it with some cream.
Yeah. Not just cream. Like I said, breaking down the process, it's like a whole powder embalmment. Like they're probably bleeding wax in the whole thing. It's going to be a whole shtick, kit and caboodle. Look at that thing.
It brings a new meaning to get in touch with your ancestors.
Get in touch with your ancestors.
So on a more serious note, here's where I think this type of preservation can be very cool. Historical figures. So let's say like George Washington, Thomas
Like
Jefferson.
he had his teeth on display.
Yeah, well, he does have his teeth on
Oh,
his,
did he?
this
Yeah.
display, but if he had a tattoo, ooh, you have like presidential tattoos. I could see a pretty good museum piece for those, and I think it'd be a little weird, just like George Washington's teeth, a little weird, but also like, oh, okay, that's what he had. So as tattoos get a little bit more prevalent, I wonder what the oldest president with tattoos is.
Whoa.
Yeah. Who's, does Ronald Reagan rock some ink, or we have to go all the way to like
I'm gonna go with probably not, but they could have.
maybe George W?
It's socially changed. Like you got to remember what tattoos were before they are. Like today, they're very different than what they were.
I mean, even,
Brian,
even
you-
I would. All right. If I had to put a guess in, I would say like Lincoln, because he was just
No
like,
way.
no way.
I would Google. I want to
Yeah.
see
either-
Google if you could see what presidents had tattoos.
probably my best guess might be Teddy Roosevelt.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say probably none that on record. There might be like a tattoo on a bicep somewhere that no one knows about, but the reality is
Over under on
Roosevelt.
one.
Yeah, okay, so it says Theodore Roosevelt, however, is the only American
Way
president
to go,
ever
dude.
documented to have a tattoo on his body
See?
in real life, although from gunpowder.
Wait,
What-
his is
what-
from
what?
gunpowder?
What?
Yeah, that's
So that's not a tattoo. That's a battle wound with pride.
Yeah.
I win. Dude, I'm telling you, there may have been tattoos, but they definitely, dude, nobody even wanted to be the first president that was divorced until the orange dude walked in.
Yeah.
That there was a way of holding yourself, and socially, it's normal. We've been in this echo chamber where it's socially normal for so long that we truly have lost sight of the fact that up until this new echo chamber, there's never been a period in time where that hasn't reflected either prisoners like convicts or like tribals, like savages,
Yeah.
right? So there was a narrative to it being uncivilized. You got to realize we are in the degradation of civilization. Like there was a time where we ate with our hands and then we slowly evolved to having rules. You don't put your elbows on the table. You sit like a gentleman. Back up. Nobody's saying you have to do that, but that's called being a part of a society. It's called assimilating to being a part of a group. We created rules. People want to abide by those rules. One of those social rules up until the point where we became trash was no tattoos. And again, I have no problem with tattoos. So many people in my life love them, have them, whatever. But the fact that I have to reconcile, again, versus the traditional world, that it is very much more likely than not that my wife will have tattoos versus the fact that she won't, speaks to how far we've come in that evolution, because that certainly was the case in 1920.
Yeah, and I don't call it a degradation. I call it an evolution. of
Well,
society.
sure.
So I think
It's all perspective.
Exactly. But I think tattoos had a connotation.
And belts had a place on your hip, and people walked on the side of the road. And I hear you.
Are
but
you
that's
saying people
called-
don't walk on the side of the road and people don't wear
People
helmets?
don't walk on the right. There is a principle to you walk on the right. You match the roads. We're slowly dissolving that as well. If I had the time to sit here and brainstorm, I could come up with a slew of degradations of society. It's a matter of perspective. If you itch and salivate for tattoos, then yeah, sure as shit, you're happy. And this is exactly where you want it to go. Think about what norms, principles, and standards are. They aren't because they accomplish anything. They are there simply because it's something we share to create a society. And so you don't respect the rules because you love them or you need them. You respect them because you want to be a part of society. Whether you agree with what that social norm or rule may be, is its own thing. If you want to create the narrative of, well, I think it's an evolution, see, the reason you needed to say that was because degradation has a connotation, and it means like it's a negative.
Yeah.
It may not be a negative, but it definitely is a reflection of the dissolving of a society where now How do you wear, like, again, there was a standard to wearing pants, to being at places on time, to how you operate a dinner setting, right? This is one element of that dinner setting. Silverware went on particular sides of the plate, the way you carried yourself, all of those things weren't necessary, but served a social purpose. And that social purpose, for better or for good or for worse, is being dissolved. It's not necessary.
You know, traditional norms are being dissolved in that
Totally.
and are they evolving to new norms?
Totally.
Are we gonna see a scenario where you have, well, I'm choosing not to have tattoos is now the taboo thing versus
Totally.
over that, but that's real hardcore conservative talk.
And then your kids are going to have nothing to frame, you clown.
Oh yes. You
weirdo.
Have any,
You're going to have nothing to pass down to your kids, you clown.
think of your great grandchildren. At what point do these start? My last thought here. How many years from now, if this catches on, do I start finding old tattoo frames at a Goodwill? You walk into a Goodwill.
And then
You
just
just
like
see it, you just
oddity
gotta, like-
collections, there's just a guy that collects strangers' tattoos.
If that's not a red flag for something, I don't know what is.
My wrapping final thought when it comes to these tattoos and everything, it's really cool when you have like, what's this picture? And it's like a distinguished white man that looks like Colonel Sanders sitting with a dog at his feet in a giant grand chair. That's my grandfather, the great Gurgat, who brought our family from Ukraine and brought us. It has a story. Does that equate and evolve to look at this tramp stamp from grandma? I just don't think it carries
She had a
the
horror
same.
phase at one point, and now, but this is why we're all here.
Exactly. And I just truly question the person that wants to take this up as the rest of their life endeavor.
It's a niche product.
It's a
In the strictest definition.
Brian, how are we doing on time?
We're
Do we got
at-
time for one more here?
We're at 58.
Perfect.
This might be our most contentious topic.
The most contentious topic, at least to my co-host. I
know-
don't know about to the audience member, but at least my co-host. This is a trigger point. I am of the impression that Disney adults need to go. We need to draw a line. There's something cute to nostalgia, but there's an even bigger point to grow up. And again, there's something to being a grown-up that still knows how to have fun. I'm not one to shy away from that. But Brian, if you could, can you get up the video of this lady? Of course, she's rocking the rainbow earpieces, the Mickey Mouse headdress, as she's going through the park, getting excited for Disney's new unveiling for a character named Figment. Now, my understanding of Figment was that this was going to be a slow phasing to a replacement of Mickey. Mickey's never going to go away anywhere, but the intellectual property rights like Winnie the Pooh are going to become public here at some point, and as a result, they need to start making a new transition to a new character that they hold sole property rights to. Am I accurate in that depiction?
A few. So as I guess the resident Disney adult here in this podcast, Figment. So let's break down a little history on Figment. So Figment
Show us a picture of Figment while he's talking.
Alright.
is a character on so you know there's several different lands in Disney World, several different parks. There you have Disney World, Magic Kingdom, and then you have Epcot, were two of the original. Epcot needed a mascot, and that mascot was a figment of your imagination. So what they came with was this purple dragon. Looks a little like Spyro the dragon. No, I don't think there's any relation, not that I'm aware of. But so they went away from him in the 90s and the early 2000s.
So real quick, this
Okay.
is a digital rendition of him. This definitely looks like Spyro. That's why I picked this one.
It does
I
look like
thought
Spyro.
it was
Boy,
Spyro.
it's hard to deny. But
So go to the final product version of it real quick.
yeah, but Figment, to dive a little more into the history of it, is a sense of imagination. So Figment has a handler. don't actually know what the
What?
handler's name is. Oh yeah, there's there's a ride in Epcot. It's called the Journey of Imagination, and through it you see all sorts of different wonderful, colorful things. But this is the main character of that ride, and you have a man in a top hat and a beard who kind of looks like a wizardly fellow, and he is the kind of the owner, the handler of Figment, so to say.
So like a wizard and a dragon.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, a very, there's some parallels there. So this is a fan favorite amongst the Disney adults.
How long? So you're saying this ride has been around for a long time?
It's been around for a while. At least I don't want to say it was one of the first rides at Epcot, but I think it's been one of the longest rides at Epcot.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so
around for a
so
while.
Figment isn't some new conjured up character. This has been around for a while.
Yes. He's older than we are, actually.
Really?
Yep. Oh yeah.
So, but this is the first time they're unveiling an actual mascot character that's physically there to take pictures.
Yes, I think yes, that's correct, and it's also his comeback tour.
Ooh.
So they're bringing him back. If you remember, Nintendo did the Year of Luigi. This is the Year of Figment. So I don't know if this is going to help hurt my argument here, but there was I'd say about 6 months ago. So Disney has these popcorn buckets. And they're all
dude, this is gonna hurt your argument.
they're all shaped different things.
Yep.
So there was a Figment popcorn bucket
That people went nuts over.
nuts for. So there was very, 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 very long lines.
Like people paid. Think about this. People paid a day's admission.
Yep.
To wait the day in line. Imagine paying to go to Disney to wait in. And I know what you're going to say, but those are fanatics that already have passes, so it's no cost to them. They live for that. You caught, dude. If I went straight from work, hence the disheveled tie and everything, came straight from work to do this for 3 hours. And can we all agree, everybody in this studio here, we still didn't have enough time to get everything together perfectly. I
can attest.
I can attest. I could
I think
not,
one person agrees. The rest, I don't know.
I cannot imagine having an entire day to expend on waiting for a popcorn bucket. Listen. Somebody's going to quickly pipe up and go, whoa. You spend a day playing golf. You spend a day going to Halloween Horror Nights at Halloween or at Universal. I hear you. But that wasn't waiting in line for a popcorn. Like everybody needs to have a moment to unplug, unwind, and take a break. Even the hardest workers, the Elon Musks and the Bezoses of the world need to take a break and focus on just being a human. I get it. But if you're that isn't wind down time. Let's agree. The person that's waiting in the line for a buck, that's go time. And wind down time is in addition to that because they aren't missing the new Frozen 2 movie. So yes, they are still having leisure time, and go time is waiting in line for a plastic popcorn bucket, which you'll never use again and just put on a shelf.
They might use it again, but definitely, waiting in line to wait in line. It's hard to defend, but I will, I'll do my
But
best.
he will. I want to hear it.
I'll do my best here. So, boy. So, I think with the Disney adults, there's a couple different definitions we can have of a Disney adult. There is the cringe, the very cringe. I will tell you the story of Disney. I will tell you the history of it, whether you ask for it or not. I will relate every conversation back into Disney. And then I think there's the other half of it, which is a little bit of the historical, the collecting. There, we collect Pokemon cards, we collect all sorts of things. We collect whiskey. There's all sorts of different things. We might have our own little, niche habits that we collect on. So I think for some of these Disney adults, I think the ones that really truly love the parks, this is their opportunity to be able to express themselves. And do they do it in the most cringe, annoying way? Oh my God, yeah, they do. I'd almost say Disney adults are probably worse than weebs at a certain point. I think weebs are coming a little bit mainstream. I think being a weeb
What's a weeb?
Someone who's really into anime and kind of embodies.
It's becoming cool. It just takes one Miles Garrett to fucking be all about
Yeah.
it.
So you're getting a little closer. Eventually, we're only like 6 years away from Disney adults.
Listen, nobody's gonna question your gonads when a guy that can lift the Empire State Building says, "I like it."
Yeah.
Like that's a man's man.
We just need one of those for Disney adults.
I
I
would say, causation, correlation. Some would say there's a reason that person doesn't exist.
So with the Figment, so this is the brand new thing. They have the Fate or the mascot character, and I would say the story. This is the hardcores. These are the people who they literally wake up bright and early in the morning. If you're on vacation with them, they would drive you up a wall. There's no downtime when you're at Disney. It is no relaxation. There's no sleeping in. It is you wake your ass up and you go. We're going to the parks. We're going rope drop. We're front in line because there is nothing else I love more than walking around this park, waiting in line. But that's not waiting in line. Waiting in line is only part of it, depending on which line you're in, and riding these rides and really experiencing the magic and the there's the magical. I hate to. We might have to have a swear jar here for every time I say magic and referring to Disney World, but there is definitely there's an element, there's an unspeakable X factor to being in these parks and just experiencing it. There's just a new level, and for some people, I think mostly childrenless is really. I'd love to see the Venn diagram and the scripts. I think this is what childless society is really falling apart on us.
Because really, at this point in your life, adult, you should be living it vicariously through your child.
Mm-hmm.
That should be your experience. That's called being an adult. Brian, can you play the clip for us? I think it's because
I'd
David
like
did
to say one thing.
Yes.
I mean, I can relate to what you just said, relating it to anything besides Disney.
Boom.
Like, if I'm going to Cedar Point, I want to ride rides. I want to be there all day. I get that. I want to get up at the ass crack of dawn and get on a ride.
Yep.
Beat the lines there. If I'm going snowboarding, gotta always bring it back to the winter sports. I definitely want to be there when that first merry-go-round comes and picks everybody up to take you to the top of the mountain. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to be dilly-dallying, but then again, I'm kind of hypocritical when it comes to that. So I do dilly-dally a lot.
Dude, I appreciate it. So what I do like is thinking about David's point here again. You've got, I'm gonna make a note of that. Just again, back to David's point. These are specifically the people we're talking about. And I don't want my point to get blurred with people just being people. You're allowed to have fun at a fun park. That's key.
Yep.
There's a delicate balance to that. Let's weigh the most extreme side to that. Brian, this video.
These are people who make this their personality. I think that's the big, it's the big differentiating factor between the normies and the Disney adults. Well, so it's not just 20 minutes ago. There's waiting. There's waiting in line before the line even starts. There's the line before the line.
Now they're in line watching live TikToks of people meeting the character. Oh, God. $2. Oh, my God.
So I will say this guy.
Come on, just let it play. Skip to the end so we can get to the dialogue then. Because I want to see. This person waits 2 hours. The person comes out, and then they're like, oh, I guess I'm almost to the end, and I'm still not up. And they had to send it back. Like, oh, look at this. She's showing him the pins. Look at all my pins. I've got these Figment pins, and I've got this Figment. And it's like, what do you do? What do? You just get to the front, you take a picture? Okay. I waited 3 hours for this?
Yeah, you're right now living I would call it, you ever watched a roller coaster video on YouTube? I think this is the experience you're getting right now.
The audio talking over it isn't.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So this is like, you ever watched a roller coaster video on YouTube, and he's like, oh, what's this roller coaster like? And see it when we watch that video, that's what it's like. But I think it's a little bit different. And you're meeting these characters in person, and you're hyping up.
So wait. I want you to because I think you touched on something, and I want to
let me.
I want it for nuts sakes, for dangling nuts between legs. I want you to articulate. Are you truthfully going to make the position that being in person with a man in a costume is a different sense of magic?
Yes.
And, oh God.
Here's my parallel. So your favorite.
You could give me those nuts between your legs.
Your favorite athlete in the world. Let's just call him LeBron James. You are a LeBron James fanatic.
You did that on purpose.
You love everything he's about. You love the community building. You love the messages he says. You love his little racial stuff he has every now and then too. So you're waking up, you're thinking LeBron James, and you're going, all right, I have an opportunity to meet LeBron James in Cavalier Stadium or Q Stadium, whatever they call it. But you got to wait, because there's all sorts of people like you that want to wait and want to meet LeBron James, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And LeBron James is at work. He is in the basketball stadium. He's about ready to play a game. But
LeBron James is real. Shit.
Well,
damn,
Figment's real because it's only a figment.
He's not.
It's a figment of your imagination.
No,
so
they're not.
Whatever
these are cartoons, actually, and they aren't real. And in fact, the only way to make them real is to put a sweaty guy in a fake costume.
Well, is LeBron James not wearing a uniform to work? Is his jersey?
It's still LeBron James. Oh my God! Just so you know, if he's not wearing the jersey, he's still LeBron James. But if Fat Sweaty Craig isn't wearing Figment, he's just Fat Sweaty Craig.
I'm not here to see Fat Sweaty Craig. I'm here to see Figment. The beauty of it.
And you're right. You're here to see Figment, but you did wait 3 hours to take a picture with sweaty fatty Craig.
Well, I don't know he's sweaty. I don't know he's fatty. We don't know the man behind the costume because I
don't care.
They embody the character so well that it just disappears. It melts literally away. Figment is a figment of your imagination. So it's whatever you want to believe. LeBron James. Would you say he sometimes plays a character on television versus maybe his behind-the-scenes persona?
But his character is still LeBron James.
Yeah.
LeBron James is always LeBron.
Yep. But you're gonna wait in line. You're gonna see him. You're gonna take a picture of him. And
so here's what I want to acknowledge, because
right.
I think there's something you're picking at that resonated with me with this person.
Yes.
When you talk to celebrities and stuff, the thing that they dislike the most is the fact that people only just want a picture. And what am I, chopped liver? You just want a picture with me? Like, they're not even you see a lot of these interactions anymore, and they're like, hey. They take the click and they walk away. And these people are like, I'm a person. Like, I'd rather somebody just want to talk to me. And, I think there's something cool to that. Like somebody that just wants to talk to you. And so I've kind of evolved, and I made the note here. I want to compare it to catching a baseball in the baseball stadium or getting an autograph. But I think you also make it cool with making a connection with a celebrity or somebody that you truly appreciate, whatever. If I found Joe Rogan, or if somebody was like, hey, Joe Rogan's at the mall, and you can have a minute with Joe Rogan, not even 30 seconds, if you wait 12 hours.
Yep.
There's a chance I would do it.
Yep.
But let's go through why I'm doing it.
Okay.
I'm doing it because I've listened to thousands of hours of this guy. I truly appreciate him. You could say you've watched your favorite Mickey Mouse movie for thousands of hours.
Rode the Figment ride.
No,
had
listen,
the Figment characters. Okay.
I'm all for it. I
draw
hear
the
you.
parallels here.
But thousands of hours.
Yep.
Again, a lot more impactful. But I'll play the game. Mickey's been around. Not Figment. Figment's nowhere near the comparison. But you take somebody, thousands of hours. Okay. So you're an extreme pivotal piece of my life. Selfishly, we went and saw Dave Landau, just a comedian, right? Who was with Steven Crowder. I waited in line. It was only 15 minutes, but I waited in line to give him a Dr. Fauci's How the Rona Stole Christmas hat and my card. And exchange my elevator pitch to who I am and why I would like to take me serious. So it'd be worth it to me because I'd see an opportunity and I'd want that opportunity. Secondly, just on the surface level, nothing ever comes from that. I still have a picture and a memory and an interaction with somebody that I truly appreciate. And I do live on those. Let me tell you a story. There was a time when we were playing the Magic, not the Disney kind, the actual male basketball kind. The Cavaliers were playing the Magic, and we were in the playoffs. And at that time, Dwight Howard was on the team, and me and my dad were obsessed with getting autographs. And again, my dad was always of this position. He lived it vicariously through me. He loved autographs. He loved sports. But he's always taken on the position that this is not for adults. And I'm sitting there fighting for Dwight Howard's autograph next to a man with a folder of 20 pictures of him that's going to sell them all on eBay. And my line that would always work with athletes trying to get autographs is, hey, please, I want your autograph, Mr. So-and-so, because this is going to go on my bedroom shelf and not on eBay like the rest of these people. That always resonated with them. And it's a truth, right? Because I am doing this for myself, and also you get affection out of this because you're doing it for a kid, right? You're doing it for a kid. And my dad was the one that was living for those autographs, that was loving those moments. And yet he had the wherewithal and the adulthood to realize the only way to experience that, even it being manly and sports, the only way to truly experience it is through your child, because the people next to them, the adults with those are the pigs in this scenario, right? And this is nothing. This is only sports. So back to the Dwight Howard scenario. We're playing them in the playoffs. Dwight Howard comes out, and what's so commendable, why I hold him as an athlete above all, what makes him one of the coolest athlete celebrities above everybody, even that asshole LeBron, is he came out and he was the last one to get on the bus to go to a playoff game. And he signed every person's autograph, took pictures with every person. They came up the bus. They were like, hey, Dwight, you got to speed it up. And he's like, what are they going to do? Leave without me? And everybody laughed. And one of the most memorable parts, he came out and and he's in an all white suit. I mean, the dude's 7 feet tall, damn good looking. And he looks sharp. And you go, and I am maybe 13, 14, just watch Shallow. I'll get to that. So I go, that's a really cute suit. And he goes, whoa. Men don't tell other men that they have a cute suit. And we all laughed. Then, he took pictures with people and everything. And I shake his hand. I got little, 5'10" white boy hands. I shake this dude's hand. Huge. And I'm at the age where I just had watched Shallow Hal, Shallow Hal finds a gal or whatever it was. Yep. And he's in an elevator with some famous orator, some speaker, and the guy is huge. And when Jack Black shakes his hands, he goes, it's like grabbing a bunch of bananas. So I shook Dwight Howard's hand and I go, it's like grabbing a bunch of bananas. And he goes, listen, man, you're telling guys they got cute suits. And now you're talking about grabbing bananas. You better watch when you say these things around. They're going to start thinking things about you. That is a memorable interaction I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I love telling that story. It was funny. It was exciting, memorable. I totally agree the value to that. I will also acknowledge that I was out there waiting for hours, 2 hours or so for that interaction. I'll never forget why I have a chip on my shoulder for Dwayne Wade to Shaq. It's below 4 degrees. It's Christmas. And we waited out there. We left Christmas with the family early to try to get autographs with them. And they were walking outside. I'm the only kid on Christmas. And literally both Shaq and Dwayne Wade stopped over me and were like, we can't risk getting our hands cold. And they kept walking. It's Christmas. I am freezing. It really is not going to impact your ability to play the game or any discomfort if you just sign my ball. It would have made my life. But now I carry with me the time I waited and the neglect that came from it. So I will never deny the impact that comes from these situations, the value they hold and everything. But let's acknowledge the time, the place, and the situation. You're a little old for this. the question then begins, what else do you have besides this? I was missing school. Are you missing a career? And are you also the same blue-haired asshole that's saying I should be paying for any bit of your existence, whether it's welfare, tax deduct? What of it of your existence are you asking from me that I owe you, but also took a day off to take a picture with a man in a suit? And I'm not talking about a man that's world renowned, that's playing in Japan, that played in America, that's making an impact across the world. We're talking about a schlub in a costume of which that represents a character that's world renowned. But that ain't the character. And it sure is. You and I had a whole dialogue about voice actors.
Yeah.
It's not even the voice actor. This guy has literally zero connection with it besides it being a larger stuffed animal. You're a clown for getting excited about a stuffed animal that a person wears.
Well, it's going to be hard to follow that one, though. A little personal story, a little here and there. But I will say, I think different people kind of approach different. So you have a personal story with a sports athlete.
I wanted to acknowledge that X factor.
The X factor. With that, the man in the suit, yes, he is in fact a man in the suit. But I would also say I got excited by a man in a suit once.
How old were you?
I was 20. What am I? 30. I'm 30. So yeah. So one of my favorite heroes is Godzilla. Godzilla is in fact a man in a suit, and I did get to see one of the suits. No man in there, but definitely
That's way cooler, dude.
well, so if I had an opportunity to sit there and see the man in the suit wearing the suit, let me tell you what, that would have made the
but you're
whole
saying
vacation.
the guy that's been
Well, there is no.
Godzilla this whole time.
Well, there is no guy. Well, there was the
Wait,
first guy who
but
did
we
it.
agree there's a nexus here. Like, the point I'm trying to make is we're not just talking about, okay, Star Wars has a huge following.
Yes.
Do you know who I have respect for? The Star Wars fan that's sitting in a bar and goes, do you see that behemoth human over there? That's the guy that dressed up as Chewbacca.
Yep.
I want to get a picture with him. I want to go I want to ask him questions. I want to ask him about his experience. Any little bit I can get from that. David, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So
you go and see a replica of the film used Chewbacca.
Yep.
That makes sense to me.
let me flip the coin around here. So you have the character. So they're more interested in the character than they are the person inside the character.
Which is goofy.
And the person inside
Weird,
the character personifies as the character. So you have Figment, who's all goofy and wacky and all that. So you ask him questions, he reacts.
But he can't even respond.
Oh, he can respond.
It's-
Maybe not that interaction that we saw, but there is responses. They go through a very rigorous training scenario. Of
It's a
being
sign
even-
you like, okay,
Well, there's different things. You take that for you can take what you get here. You can't just interact.
So let me
with
ask you
puppet,
this:
okay?
outside of a Disney character, because it goes back to kind of like Brian's inquiry. Do you got a comment? We'll come
Yeah,
to you in a
yeah.
second.
Oh,
Ricky joined the party a little late.
What's up, Ricky?
Ricky.
Literally what I said was, "What's up, Ricky?" So I brought him in. I told him that he was asking about the segment. I said, staying in line 4 hours to meet a Disney character for 30 seconds. Is it worth it? He had a lot of laughing, crying emojis. And then he said, hell no.
To the normies.
Wait,
normies.
so, okay.
Okay, all right.
Wait, do you got a comment before I short circuit here? Is that it? Just him laughing?
Yep. He said, hell no.
Hell no.
Hell
Yep.
no.
Hell.
All right. Somebody outside a person in a costume, because Godzilla, again, I think we're seeing the line here.
Yep.
Like the film used costume, again, why is Planet Hollywood one of the biggest franchises across the country? Because there is something cool to seeing the Terminator costume, to seeing the ET costume. Like that makes sense to me.
Yep.
The person operating it. Again, I may never meet Kermit the Frog, but you know what'd be cool? The guy that's had his hand up his ass this whole time running that career. I got a couple questions for him.
Yeah.
So again, where I'm articulating that line, what I want to ask you is there anybody that that isn't a guy in a costume that you get super excited about, that you're dying to meet? And in that, do you think you would have any, like, because again, back to my narrative of like, celebrities would rather talk to you than just take a picture and you move on like your meat. Is there, like, I know if I were to meet Joe Rogan tomorrow, I know the questions I want to ask him. I know I'm not going to get to all of them, but I know exactly the things that, because again, I have an understanding. I have this impression. You have a career. You have to put forth a narrative and a way to present yourself, and then there's the real you. This is my opportunity. I'm not on the air. This isn't cancel culture. There's no way of getting this. This is the real you.
This is authentic.
And
It's
I
authentic.
finally get to ask. I know
Yeah.
what mine would be. Why did you pull Eddie Bravo from the show? Like, little questions
Yeah.
that only niche people, he would know. I'm a diehard fan asking this question. And so not only is it communicating to them that like I got a deep understanding, but also like, man, I found the treasure chest. This is the treasure trove. And I finally get a little tidbit that nobody else gets. 3 hours of people taking that picture ain't that. Everybody got that picture.
Yeah.
There's no special interaction here. So outside of the whole Disney conversation, is there somebody you hold that with? And you'd be like, I'd ask them this immediately. I'd ask them bop, 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 because I'm a fan, or I would want that interaction, or I'm itching for that interaction.
Oh, for me personally, it would probably be, oh God, it'd probably be politicians actually.
Exactly.
Of the same vein, just all else being standing, people I really want to ask questions to, it would be politicians. Really doesn't matter which one. Just I would love to know, hey, what's going on with these bills? How does this happen? What's the process work? That's for me. That's my particular thing.
Exactly.
Or getting the authentic side of that person. But let me wrap this.
So isn't there
all right.
something to be said about being infatuated with something that you can never,
Yep.
a thing, not a
Yep.
person, not an entity,
Yep.
a thing that you can't ever get that on test authentic. That's the X factor.
Yeah.
The X factor is there is an authenticity I am going to get from this experience that I can't find anywhere else on the internet, through anybody else's experience. This will be lit. This is a one of one experience that doesn't exist. That's the X factor.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Let me wrap this back around here, because there's the other side of it. There's the X factor, but there's a scary side of the X factor. I don't know how this is going to be. You've heard never meet your heroes. If Joe Rogan is just a complete total dick to you, and
That's why I hate LeBron.
and just kind of pricks you right where it really hurts. Not him trying, but just that's how it is. So with some of this Disney things is they know the experience and they know the interaction they're going to get, and they like the comfort in that interaction. Whether
That's
they
sad.
sad or
Life
not,
is uncomfortable, dude.
hey,
These are soy boy types.
this
like,
is why you go to the parks, because there is a consistent, outside of vacationing in a different country, in a different area, there is an opportunity for it to not be good. Even if you go to a good place, let's say you go to the southern France and you're on the beaches and it's just, I'm not having a good time. But I could be over in Epcot. I can drink around the world. I know my experience. There's a comfort to that. And I think there's quite a few people that really love that style
but
of
see,
comfort.
this is the unfairness to the over infatuation with Disney, is that there's a need to blur the line. There is a line to too much love for Disney, whether you want to admit it or not.
Yes.
That line exists.
Absolutely.
So the purpose of dialogues like this is to siphon out where that line exists.
Yeah.
And so if my necessary burden is constantly going to be short circuit to things that like obviously everyone enjoys, like they didn't make Drink Around the World in Epcot for 7-year-olds, right? So it's unfair to say, like, to equate that magic and X factor to waiting 3 hours for a person in a costume. You get what I'm saying?
No, I
Like
I hear what you're
people that
saying.
watch football, people that watch anime, people that go to clubs and are not misfit to society can get a group of friends together and travel the world in Epcot and still experience the magic and X factor that is Disney.
Yeah.
That's not the person we're talking about. And what I
No.
want to double down on is there's not a lot of the crux of the position leans upon the safety, security, the comfort net that this provides. And there's nobody that looks for that or needs it, but even looks for that is in any way reflected by society as I'm trying to avoid words that will put me in a box.
Well, let me
but,
let me bring a couple examples
there's no
here.
masculine dude that's excited to go wait in line for 3 hours for a character.
You know, well, how about this? What about like comfort food? There's a comfort knowing, hey, this is my
that
this is-
resonates.
This
Yeah,
is
I'm
my
sure.
favorite. This is my favorite mac and cheese. My favorite pizza. There's comfort drinks. Like, well, I don't know what I want. I don't want to try anything
But
exotic.
can we
I'll
agree?
have
So
my-
a lot of this
All right.
dialogue, a lot of this line is social. You can have a comfort food, but David, can you have a comfort blankie?
I think you can absolutely. Is there not a blanket?
And that's
is
your
there-
blankie. You waited
is
3 hours in line to take a picture with your blankie. Is this for us? I thought that was an old one. What'd you get for us,
All right,
Brian?
what do you got?
Ricky agreed with your points, Alex, and
Damn it!
he said as far
I'm
as
losing the crowd here.
as far as David's point about meeting politicians, he said, but they're going to give you the bullshit political answer.
Well,
That's what's up.
Well, sorry. All right, Ricky. Here's the thing. You meet your politicians. You're able to interact. You see them face to face. You're able to see in their eyes.
Exactly. Even if they sell you the bullshit, you'll
You can
see
see
right
in their
through
eyes
it.
they're lying to you. You can grill them. You can say, "Well, what about this?"
Yeah,
and then just
follow
keep
us.
going at them. That's the sport I want to play with the politicians. I don't necessarily want to actually hear the regurgitated politician line. I want to challenge them. I'm going to give them viewpoints that they're intentionally avoiding. 'Cause they're in their safe space, in their whichever cable news network they decide to be on, whichever super PAC they decide to join forces with, and their prepared speeches. I want to get them off the cuff, get them, because I don't think they're challenged too often.
I think that's a great response. Couldn't agree more. All I want to say is I think there's a line to the things that you can find. And again, this may be the root of toxic masculinity. This may be why masculinity is toxic, right? Because I am taking the position that it's okay to find comfort in some things, but not the others. You should find comfort in food before you should find comfort in blankies. You should find comfort in sports, pastimes, hobbies before XYZ. You can make the argument back to me then that, well, that's why everything is so miserable and toxic. You should pick up a Jennifer Anderson before you should get in line.
Well,
for
who
a
are
Mickey
you to
Mouse.
draw the line of what my comfort should be?
We're living in a society. That's what again, these are norms. These are trying to assimilate into a group. And again, I got no problem with you doing gay things. Stop creating a society where people aren't, all the people that think it's gay aren't allowed to say it's gay. That's today's society. So you know what, Kurt, this goes back to the dialogue we had about bullying. Remember that? I had a girl that would show up in the law school in a dress with R2D2, a giant R2D2 dress. What helps her assimilate is us all telling her that's an ugly dress or inappropriate for law school. At the same time, us saying that, she could ignore it, she could disagree and continue to watch it or wear it. But if you want to come to our lunch table, like again, this is what it is. It's forced speech. Right now, it's forced norm assimilation. You need to accept this as a norm. No. All of us agree, chat or not, this is gay. And you're all going, you're not allowed to say, you literally waited in line with rainbow Mickey Mouse ears. The gay, that's what that is. So I'm not saying you can't do it. What I'm saying is you can't tell me I'm not allowed to think it's gay. And then when most of us start getting in line and going, hey, yeah, we all kind of think it's gay. Utilitarianism, John Locke says it's gay.
So on that end, I don't know if there's not a whole lot of people defending Disney adults. I might be the only defender here on the internet for Disney adults. I'm waving this. This is my hill to die on.
It's unfair for you because you are not that extreme we keep talking about. I want to emphasize that too.
no.
As much as I love propping you up as our scapegoat, You're not that extreme either.
No, and
You're the guy that wants to just tour Epcot with your friends, and I'm trying to equate it to Disney.
I'm taking a
characters.
failing mission by,
Yeah.
I'm defending them. I am defending the Disney adults, but I do think they need a little bit of defending here. I think
I
they are.
agree.
Are they are they the most persecuted class? No, but not. They're not. There's probably more people persecuted.
I was
than
looking
Disney
at you
adults.
like, are we?
Really going to defend him here, but closing thoughts on the Disney adults. So I think there is a line where it's weird, and I think that's fair to say it's weird. However, who am I to call? Who am I to say, hey, that's too weird? Because you're not. Now the Disney adults might talk your ear off about Disney, but they're not forcing you to walk in like, hey, Alex, when we go next time we go to Walt Disney World together, we're gonna wait in line here for Gaston, and I'm gonna prep you my lines. You're gonna give me your lines. We're gonna take this to the max and wait around until we get our due justice of my constitutional right of talking to Gaston. I don't think that's gonna be something we're gonna do here. So there is a line. There's a line where it's weird. I think there's a line where we can call it out as weird. However, I think these people are maybe a little too prosecuted based on our traditional values.
Let's go back to a lot of the themes that came through today's episode. People should have freedom to be people.
Yeah.
And however you want that expression to look is in and of itself fine. I am not one to get in the way of how you want to live your life. That's called liberty. That's called autonomy. I want you to have the ability to express and live your life any way you see fit. At the same time, though, this is a society in the discussion of norms and what's just simply weird. This isn't a persecution, a claim to preventing you from its expression. It's just simply saying, go ahead and do you, but rainbow ears waiting for 4 hours. This is going to be my closing thought. I got no problem with you doing whatever you want. You want to turn yourself into a dragon? We've got people that do surgeries that tattoo themselves to look like snakes and everything else. My only thing is you don't get to exercise your autonomy outside of norms that are so ridiculous and crazy and then expect society to take care of you. I got no problem with you wasting 12 hours at Disney. But you also don't get to be the same person that comes to me with your hands out. You paid for your trip to Tokyo, your trip to meeting Godzilla, all these trips to Disney in Japan, Disney in Orlando, Disney in California. You paid for those. You're not experiencing that and then also coming to society expecting a damn thing. So I, as society, should have no place to say anything to you. Live your life. You want to be a cat, piss in litter boxes? We love you. But you don't also get to do that and then be like, I'm a victim. How am I supposed to play at Disney all day and afford my meals? That's my closing.
I think the sword does cut both ways.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
I
agree.
think you know what? I think
Strong closing.
that's a strong closing. That might be your
I like it.
strongest closing.
I like it. Guys, we appreciate you following us for this long. If we made you laugh, if we made you think, the best thing you can do to support this show is share this episode. If you liked it, that means someone you know or someone like you is also going to like it. So take that link. That's the best way for the algorithm to support us. Take the link, share it around, send it to people. Otherwise, catch us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. You can find all of our content at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. We've got new podcasts coming out each week, new segments coming out all the time also. So here's where I'm at and everything else. Follow us on Instagram and everything else. But you can find me at Gergat57. Otherwise, David, where can they catch you?
They can catch me on Instagram, David Cunningham 7112. I finally remembered this time. And Brian, where can they find you at?
That's why you have 7112
That's why I
written on
have
the
it
corner
here.
of your page. Dude, this whole time I'm like, what the heck is that?
When am I going to get to, when is he going to get to this? This is the bomb I was going to drop. And in fact, this was the bomb I did drop.
Brian,
Catch me on Instagram, BC Mall. You can see all my book ratings and stuff.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Love it. Bye. For next episode.
All right.
Peace.
Later, guys.
Good deal.
Ending stream now.